It's good to be back on your screens. It's been a while. I hope you're all doing well. My name is Dennis Igoa and thank you for tuning in. Here are the top snapshots. Uganda alcohol industry players decry over taxation as they meet with legislators. The Eastern Africa Power Pool is set to kick off cross-border electricity trade this May. Uganda Registration Services Bureau officially hands over civil registration functions to NIRA. And on the global scene, the ongoing trade war is already having an impact on international commerce. Please keep the remote slightly out of reach of the kids. It's time for business. On to our first story. The Uganda Alcohol Industry Association has urged Parliament to reject Section 3B of the Excise Duty Amendment Bill 2025, which proposes raising the excise tax on alcohol from 650 to 900 shillings per litre. The association cites that this 38% tax will severely impact on the legit alcohol industry players and their customers. Let's have a look.
Under the Excise Duty Amendment Bill 2025, government plans to raise the tax on beer from 650 to 900 shillings per litre. In response, representatives from both the Uganda Alcohol Industry Association and the Uganda Alcohol Policy Alliance met with the Parliamentary Finance Committee to present their positions.
Uganda Breweries has Senator and No Breweries has Eagle. A bottle of each of those goes for as low as 2,000 shillings, a half-litre bottle. And then you go categorization to Club, to Castle Light, to the premiums. This particular tax touches on the affordable brands, which sit at the level, as they actually, every time they grow, they are mining clientele from the illicit market.
Speaking on behalf of the industry, Emma Njuki, the Public and Corporate Affairs Manager at Uganda Breweries, warned that the proposed tax increase could disrupt the agricultural supply chain. He noted that a decline in beer production would reduce demand for key local crops like sorghum and barley, impacting over 25,000 farmers.
So the impact, we believe, is going to affect these smallholder farmers who grow sorghum and barley as cash crops, specifically for the brewing industry, and they would face immediate reduction in demand for their produce. We've shared an attachment with you in 114 constituencies, some of which are represented on this committee, where we actually invest in agriculture.
Njuki also stressed that higher beer prices could significantly curb consumption, resulting in lower overall tax collection. However, Uganda Alcohol Policy Alliance chairperson Juliet Namukasa defended the tax proposal, advocating for an increase from 30% to 35%.
This is our prayer: increase beer excise duty from 30% to at least 35%. Aligning with Kenya and improving revenue yield from 13.9% to a target of 16% of national revenue. Number 2, extend duty increases to all alcoholic beverages, including spirits and wines.
Members of the Finance Committee were divided in their opinions, with some supporting the concerns raised by producers and others backing the health-centered arguments of the Policy Alliance.
Saying increasing taxes would actually increase revenue. That's a very dangerous statement. Actually, increasing taxes may reduce consumption and reduce revenue.
When you present your arguments, you seem to state that you're living in isolation. What we are alive to here is that the majority of the beer that is destroying our people is the illicit beer. So the fight, I think, should be there.
Somebody very poor, you even wonder where he earns, makes a daily earning, but drinks every day, and not the kind of alcohol these people produce. So we really need to do a deeper study and come up with the right recommendations, and they should be applied gradually, because it is like reorienting the life of a person who is a bit now disoriented.
On matters electricity, nearly 2 decades after its establishment, the Eastern African Power Pool is finally set to begin cross-border electricity trade among its 13 member states starting this May. The announcement was made in a joint communique at the 32nd Steering Committee meeting of the Eastern African Power Pool held in Kampala. The East African Power Pool member countries has agreed to establish an independent body to manage electricity trading and operations across the region. This agency is expected to be in place by September 2025. This resolution was made at the Council of Ministers of the East African Power Pool held in Kampala.
The Council of Ministers acknowledges the completion of the Eastern African Power Pool market rules, market participation agreement, and associated market procedures, which together form the legal and operational framework for electricity trading under the Eastern African Power Pool. The Council of Ministers ratifies the market rules and associated agreements as a foundational instrument for the eventual deployment and operations of the regional electricity market.
As the 3-day meeting concluded, the 13 participating nations pledged to work collaboratively to expand cross-border power interconnections to promote energy security across the region.
I have a very big dream to see the electricity produced here in Uganda and utilized and consumed in Egypt or in Somalia or in Tanzania and so on. And also we have a very big dream more than that, to see electricity produced here in our countries and to utilize in other pools or in Europe, in Asia, after connecting with these pools.
The EAPP member countries boast of a total power generation capacity of about 90,000 megawatts against a peak demand of 54,000 megawatts. Despite power surplus in some member countries, others are experiencing power deficits.
Each country has a bespoke energy compact. For example, Tanzania today, and I'm saying this because they are part of the cohort 1, I know they have surplus generation capacity, and therefore generation in the pillar 1 will no longer be a priority. Maybe your priority is how to extend the evacuation facilities as well as distribution. You go to another country, for example, there are countries that have system losses of 50%. In such a country, you'd expect that before even thinking of generation, they must find ways of addressing the issues of system losses.
Meanwhile, the EAPP ministers have commissioned an independent regulatory board to streamline power business across its member countries. The IRB Secretariat is hosted by Kampala.
Honorable Minister, the incoming Chair of COM, these are the focus areas that you are going to oversee. We shall finalize and implement the market rules to be able to have the go live of the day ahead market of the East African electricity market. We shall establish the market monitoring and surveillance function so that we are able to see how the electrons are flowing. We shall have a console here and the staff who is competent and knowledgeable.
The East African Power Pool member countries include Burundi, Rwanda, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, Egypt, Libya, Uganda, Kenya, Somalia, Djibouti, Tanzania, Sudan, and South Sudan. Dennis Igoa for UBC. Relatedly, Uganda's status as a power surplus nation may soon face new dynamics as the Eastern African Power Pool becomes fully operational. With an ambitious target of generating over 52,000 megawatts through a diversified energy mix by 2040, Uganda is positioning itself to become a major electricity player in the region. With a current generation capacity of 2,043 megawatts against a peak demand of about 1,000 megawatts, Uganda has surplus electricity, an opportunity to export power to neighboring countries.
So here, please, don't say again that we now have enough electricity. Please don't say that again.
The recently concluded 32nd Steering Committee and 20th Council of Ministers in the East African Power Pool ratified trade rules, launched the regulatory body, and discussed critical collaborative issues. Established in 2005, the East African Power Pool has taken nearly 2 decades of negotiations. Now, the 13 member states have agreed unanimously to commence power trading starting in May this year.
Let's not dwell on small things. Let's work together to ensure the objectives of the East African Power Pool is actually delivered.
The estimation when this starts won't be significantly different from the 2025 megawatts that we have, but there is a lot of generation plans growing the generation capacity, because we know by 2040, according to the government policy, we should be at 52,000 megawatts, including things like nuclear and others.
To ensure smooth operation, the member states have also set up trade and marketing unit to manage transactions and market coordination. Uganda is currently engaging in electricity trade with neighboring countries through bilateral agreement arrangements.
With Kenya, Rwanda, and Tanzania. So, using the infrastructure that is available, we are able to participate in the East African Power Pool trading. However, to improve on this trading, we need to improve on the interconnectivity.
Enhancing cross-border interconnections will reinforce Uganda's role in regional electricity trade.
What we are saying is that the infrastructure that exists now allows us to begin trading on the East African Power Pool, and with the support of the East African Power Pool and NELSAP, we've been able to do the feasibility studies for new interconnections, which I've already mentioned, and the construction works are going to start. So the trading on the East African Power Pool platform will even become better after 2 or 3 years when these interconnections have been completed.
Developing and upgrading interconnecting infrastructure will ensure seamless electricity exchange once the market and trading unit are fully operational. Dennis Igoa for UBC. In other news, the National Identification Registration Authority, NIRA, has officially taken over the marriage registration function from the Uganda Registration Services Bureau, URSB. This initiative is part of the government's rationalization of public expenditure RAPEX program. Let's have a look.
The National Identification and Registration Authority, NIRA, has emphasized its commitment to growth, transformation and transitioning all barriers as it officially takes over the mandate of handling civil marriage functions from the Uganda Registration Services Bureau.
So for us it is an opportunity to do what we do. We already have 27.7 million people now registered. We are on the threshold of a mass enrollment exercise that will begin next month. So in essence, this is just another one of our people services that we shall experience at NIRA. I would like to encourage the public that, as I've already mentioned, since October, you've not experienced any hiccups, and you shall not experience any.
We also thank URSB for allowing us to continue using their custom-made facilities at this marriage registration function. We have to clap for us, and from here we have chance for this.
Describing the transition, officials from the URSB liken the process to a bride moving from one family to another, assuring of a seamless and smooth handover of responsibilities.
The transition has been seamless. About the continuity and the future, of course this is government to government. NIRA will continue to do this work perfectly well because they have all the human resource, they have all the equipment that is required. So I have no doubt whatsoever that anything will change. We expect even better and better and better services. Thank you.
The peaceful and well-coordinated transition was commended by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs.
I congratulate most especially the parent who is giving away the bride. It's not always easy in an environment like this. We see a lot of protectionism, but this has not been exhibited since October when this started to happen.
In Uganda, recognized forms of marriage include civil, church, Muslim, customary and Hindu marriages.
On matters technology, significant gender gaps in access to formal financing, digital tools and professional networks is hampering the Uganda women entrepreneurs from thriving. To address these gaps, a 3-year initiative to equip women-led startups with essential skills, financing and networks to drive long-term impact has been launched. Uganda's entrepreneurial landscape is set to receive a significant scaling and financial boost following the launch of the Women in Tech Uganda Accelerator Program, an initiative of Standard Chartered Foundation, Village Capital and the Innovation Village.
With a deliberate focus on mentorship, catalytic funding and capacity building, this program offers all women in tech a chance to build competitive, sustainable businesses and become agents of change within our communities and beyond.
The State Minister for Disability, Helena Samo, emphasized government's commitment to creating an enabling environment by tackling systemic barriers and driving inclusive economic growth.
We know that the education system in Uganda is promoting ICT, and His Excellency President also promotes the issues of ICT. But I want to say that for the young women, now that we are looking for employment out there, this program will help you to run a business, and entrepreneurship is one of now the backbones of doing business in Uganda.
This 3-year initiative is designed to equip women-led tech-enabled businesses with the tools, networks and financing necessary to scale sustainably.
We are looking at growing this much bigger so that we can have a proper, for the lack of a better word, domino effect in this country. As we look to supporting the government with its ATMs and growing the economy 10 times, we believe that empowering women and using technology as a tool to help them grow their businesses is the best way we can come through as a bank.
The program comes at a time when the country is actively pursuing inclusive economic growth through technology and innovation. Over 50% of micro, small and medium enterprises in Uganda are owned by women, most of whom are under the age of 30.
The women in tech will be part of this initiative, will join a larger community of others like them who are also struggling or building a business. And this will offer a very healthy network for collaboration, for partnership, for sharing lessons that can be carried on beyond the program.
The inaugural cohort will support up to 60 women-led businesses. Top-performing ventures will receive catalytic grants of up to $10,000, access to various technological tools, and introductions to potential customers. Dennis Igor for UBC Business.
Thank you so much. I'm now going to...
Uganda has expressed readiness to engage in negotiations with the United States of America over the 10% unilateral tariffs recently imposed by the U.S. government. Audrey Rabogo, the chairman of the Presidential Advisory Committee on Exports and Industrial Development, PESAID, emphasized that the U.S. market remains vital to Uganda and should not be taken for granted.
Uganda's export engine has been running at full throttle. But with the US set to impose a 10% duty on incoming goods, that momentum is now under pressure.
The US market is important in 3 ways. First, in the last 40 years, I don't know any country, any newly industrializing country, whether it's Turkey, whether it's Indonesia, whether it's Malaysia, whether it's China, whether it is Japan, that has not grown based on this market. Because when you are on this market, you are competing at a global level, and your businesses begin to attract technology.
Still, the response has been sharp and strategic. The Presidential Advisory Committee on Exports and Industrial Development, PASAID, has opened direct lines with both U.S. trade officials and key Ugandan agencies to keep negotiations active.
We're speaking about this so that there begins an open engagement on some of the sensitive products, sensitive technology, because we also buy from the US. We buy aircraft parts, we buy some things, so it's two-way. It may be small, but Uganda is a growing country in a region that is full of young people who admire cultural products from the US, who admire technology from the US. So suppose we acted jointly as a region, we would say, okay, you put 10%, we are putting 15 or 20%, and they would listen. But you are too small.
Markets in the UAE, India, China, and across Africa are being identified as promising alternatives.
So Nigeria is promising, so is Serbia. Serbia, we're close to shipping the first container, 20 foot, of 200 grams roasted coffee. That goes straight into the shelves. So that's really unique, because that market was not available to us 2 years ago. South Africa is available, but strangely a little bit of a higher standard. So South Africa gets its coffee from Italy. Can imagine, Italy buys from us. Often companies ship around Durban.
PASAID is also driving value addition, ensuring that Ugandan products are processed, branded, and certified to meet international standards.
On the global scene, the fallout from the trade war is already having an impact on international trade, with some experts predicting significant losses in trade volume for the remainder of the year. We have more from CGTN America.
When combined, the Port of Long Beach and the Port of Los Angeles is the largest port complex in the Western Hemisphere, receiving nearly 40% of all imported containers arriving into the U.S. But according to its CEO, its cargo volume is already seeing a decline in the aftermath of the latest U.S. tariffs.
Our concerns about reduction, I think, are going to really start being elevated as we move towards May. We already have, our staff has now recorded 17 canceled sailings from the international carriers, which means less containers coming into the complex.
And given the on and off nature of the tariffs, shipping experts believe it will take months for businesses to be able to establish the most profitable trade routes.
It's just going to take some time for importers to diversify their supply chains, the countries of origin. And what you'll see is an uptick of manufacturing in nations that don't have tariffs levied on them by the United States. And then you'll see that confidence pick back up. But as you can imagine, these things don't happen overnight. And it's going to take the next several months. And I think really a long-term understanding of where the tariffs are going to line up so people can make business decisions, and they may hold freight until then.
But until the market regains a sense of stability, major U.S. ports could see steep declines in container traffic to North America.
Right now, we're estimating a 20% reduction in volume for the second half of 2025. Now, that again is under the assumption that the tariff implementation is going to move forward at some high numbers.
The U.S. administration has repeatedly expressed openness to new trade deals with major trading partners like China and Europe, but until that happens, uncertainty continues to loom over international trade. It is Tian Shan, CGTN, Los Angeles.
Ugandans are watching us. All eyes are in high gears of how Kilembe mines can be beneficial to this country. And I think not just for the metal industry, but for us as the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, this is a great milestone that we want to celebrate at every point and add confidence
onto the voice of Sarai Group, that we shall be with you all through the journey. The Uganda National Mining Company is set, our mission is clear, and our goal is to see that we promote sustainable, responsible mining.
A delegation of European Union ambassadors to Uganda toured the Kakira Sugar Factory in Jinja District. Led by the EU ambassador to Uganda, Jan Sadek, the envoys explored various aspects of the sugar production value chain, inspected the alcohol production line, and sampled a range of locally made Ugandan beverages. Check this out in our Sounds of Business. We do have a parting message to all the parents and guardians as learners return home for the first term break. Encourage your children to use this holiday wisely. Keep them engaged in meaningful activities, guide their use of phones and gadgets, and gently remind them to revise what they have learned. Your support makes all the difference. Otherwise, thank you for being part of the show. Till next time, cheers.